As a small business owner, you do everything in your business. So you are the operations manager, you are the strategist, you are the marketing manager, you are everything. And you're sitting in class with people who fulfill those roles in their companies every single day. So you have the opportunity to pick their brains.
Welcome to the No Money More Plants podcast. I'm excited to welcome Maletsatsi to the podcast. Maletsatsi is a forensic scientist by day and a master baker by night. Well, at least that's how I know her. She has just graduated with an MBA from Stellenbosch University. Welcome to the podcast. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, high level. My name is Maletsatsi. I'm originally from a small town in the Free State called Valcom. I have moved around quite a number of times all around South Africa. We moved around, I think, roughly every 3 years. So I've lived in a lot of places in South Africa. And I think that's the thing that
Whoop,
made
whoop.
me really passionate. Yes, whoop, whoop. I think that's where my passion for this country comes from. And I think that's also the thing that made me, do an MBA in South Africa from an institution that is really, really passionate about building African leaders. So I'm a scientist by day, as you said. I'm a forensic scientist. During the day, I recover evidence from crime scene exhibits. And I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a small business where I bake cakes for birthday parties, bridal showers, baby showers. I'm doing a baby reveal cake currently. So yeah, I've
Ooh,
just
okay.
I've just graduated from Stellenbosch Business School with an MBA just last month. So that is me.
That's really exciting. I just want to pick up there where you said um, doing a an MBA in South Africa versus doing it overseas, which is what a lot of people are into. Hey, and I'm glad that you mentioned that that was like your main driver, like loving this
Mm.
country. What do you think is leading people to like want to do it overseas? Overseas, like, what do you think is their main driver then?
I think the main driver is the fact that they get international recognition for an MBA that they do overseas. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is there are a lot of business schools in South Africa that have accreditations that allow you to use your MBA overseas. I don't know. I think people always, chasing money, chasing an experience, and I think you sort of we built. I don't know. We get that hype,
Mm,
that Wall Street hype, and that's what business is, and that's why we do MBAs. So I think that's why people want to do it overseas to get that recognition abroad, to give them the opportunities to go work abroad and use it there. But I think that it's more valuable to do an MBA in Africa where we live, we know our own problems so well, and we can benefit so much from doing an MBA from an institution here in our country because we get practical examples and we get to apply
mm.
our knowledge. Practically, we know the things we experience. Other countries don't go through the things that we experience. And now they're all looking to us. We are so good in, especially in South Africa, we're so good at learning or knowing how to manage with very little, and we make really good use of that. If you remember a
Mm.
while ago, there was that water crisis in Cape Town, and now like so many people from overseas want to learn from us about how to manage water scarcity, but people in South Africa would rather go overseas and learn in countries where there's an abundance, but they don't realize that doing an MBA here and learning here means so much more because you can then use that knowledge anywhere, teach other organizations how to make things work with very little.
Mm.
So, South African MBAs, for me, number one.
Yeah. I didn't know that you guys are dealing with like I know I should have known this, but maybe I'm not the only one, but that you guys are dealing with like real world problems, like things like the drought within
Yes.
your studies. So is it like do
Mm.
you do case studies of things that have happened in the country, or how is the structure?
Yes, we do. I can only speak for Stellenbosch. I don't know about other business schools in South Africa, but Stellenbosch, because their whole thing is about building responsible leaders in Africa. So we use a lot of African examples um, in class, as well as, when you do group assignments or any individual assignment, they encourage you to use your own company organization as your background and not, look for something overseas. So that really helps because, I mean, you
Yeah.
focus on a company in South Africa that focuses on African problems, and that helps. But sometimes when we do learn different things, they will give us examples of companies in our own country.
Okay. Okay, that's quite cool. Do you feel like you wasted your first degree?
Not at all. I didn't. I really,
Mm.
it was beneficial. It had a role to play. Um, in in our second year, one of our lecturers, a microbiology lecturer, invited some guy to come talk to us. He was a lawyer, and he did the same BSc that I did. So he was talking to us about different careers in science, and I think she was trying to expose us to a world bigger than just working in a lab. And what he said that really inspired me, and I don't remember much of what he said, but what I remember is he said that learning science teaches you how to think differently, and it gives you the ability to think critically, analytically, to be able to solve a problem, look at it in a different way, which is something that, I think other people miss out on when they don't have a degree in science. If you think of biotechnology, what do? We manipulate things for our own use. We solve problems by
Mm.
manipulating things, yeah, we manipulate nature for our benefit. And I think that was the beauty of going through the journey that I went through, where I first learned science. So science has really helped me. Even in the MBA, hey, I used a lot of what I had learned. Um, in the MBA,
Oh, wow.
which was weird because I was, at some point, I was struggling to understand certain concepts, and then I would link them to different things that I've learned in science. And if you think about it, the
Mm.
world works the way we learned in science. I mean, homeostasis, all those things. And then sometimes I think back, I'm like, so if you're running a
Mm.
business and things, go out of control, you need to find a way back to the norm. But maybe you might have to evolve. And so all these things, I've incorporated them in some way so that I can understand them, because I don't have a business background like most of my classmates did. So they're able to think of practical examples in business, but I can't. So I would take from science and then apply those things, and then it would help me
Mm.
understand exactly what we're doing.
That's really an interesting way of looking at it. Um, like many people, like even your classmates, who are studying towards an MBA, you also worked full-time 9 to 5. How did you manage your time between like all the assignments and evening classes, and managing your work as well?
Yeah, it was hectic because I started the MBA the same year that COVID happened. So a lot of things that we didn't plan for happened. So I was meant to do my MBA modular. So that means like I'll go to class every 3 months for 1 week of hectic classes, like every single day. And then that didn't happen because of COVID. So I missed out, I think, on 2 blocks. And then we had to catch up with everything because Stellenbosch has had already, at that point, they already knew how to do classes online. They were doing it for a couple of years. So we had to move to the blended format, which is doing classes online. That meant that now, instead of having one class a week, I had two. So at work, I had to organize to go to work a little earlier. So I was at work from 6:30 in the morning until like 3. And then I would drive all the way back home and
Ah,
get a snack or shower, something, and then start class at 4 p.m. and class would end at like 8
no.
p.m. So it was hectic. That was my schedule on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And Mondays I'd write tests from 5 to 7 p.m. Every second or third week
Ah,
there was a
ah, ah,
test.
ah.
If there was a test. Yeah, it was hectic.
This
It
is
was hectic. When I was
unnecessary.
in it, it was intense.
Ah,
It was intense. But when I was in it, I don't think I realized just how heavy it was. I think it's now looking back, I'm like, yo, Jesus, you carried me through this thing because I don't know how I got through that. But what I did and what when I started, before I started, I made a decision that how I'm going to use my time because our lecturers were telling us that this is important. Tell all your family, your friends, that you're not going to have any more time. They need to be understanding because there's a lot of time spent in an MBA. And so I decided I'm going to spend my time like they suggest you spend your money. You know how they tell you to save money, tell you to save your money before you spend it. Don't save what's left after spending. So I decided, okay, I'm going to save my time. I decided that
Yo.
Sundays I'm not doing any work. That's my church and family day, and Wednesdays are home cell days. And then I had to choose and prioritize who's more important, who do I spend time with. And and then after that, I had to say, okay, cool. And after that, I had to decide. I know Tuesdays and Thursdays are out. Mind you, we also had to have group meetings because you need to meet with your group on a weekly basis. So we had to choose a time as well during the week where
I hate those group
yeah,
meetings.
where I meet with the group. They were intense. And mind you, MBAs are all
Yeah.
about group work these days. So that's all we did. So I think how I really just manage my time by deciding which days are important, which days I'm not going to do work. And I made it very clear to my group that Sundays are out, absolutely out. And they respected that, which I'm grateful for. And Wednesday evenings were for home cell. That was out too. But every other day, girl, I was working so hard. And I also had to choose my sleep hours as well. Because if you don't sleep, if you don't spend time with your family, you're never going to get through the MBA. You need those things to carry you through.
Sure. Yo, that sounds so intense. Um, do you have the same
It
group
was.
from the start of your master's? Yeah. Do you have the same group from the start of your master's to the of your MBA to the end? Or do you change groups after every block?
You change groups twice. So you'll have one group for the entire first year and then another group for the second year.
Okay.
It has its pros and cons having one group for the entire year because what happens if you get stuck with a bad group the entire year? And so there's that downside. But if you have a really good group, then you're with the best group for an entire year. So it helps your mark. But I think what they were trying to achieve was, you don't always get to choose your teams at work. So you always have to know how to work with different types of people, and people skills are important. So you have to learn how to either motivate that person or, tell them what to do and where to get off because these are your marks. So you have to learn how to navigate your way through different situations with different people.
Oh man. I think my lack of team. I hope no recruitment agents or future employers are listening. But my lack of team effort and or team player playerism, like I would not survive having to work with people for an entire year. Phew.
Yeah.
If they suck, like if they're good, then it's not a problem. But if I'm the problem, also that's a problem. Like
You
yeah.
see?
Hey,
Yeah.
but what would you say is the most valuable thing you learned over these past 2 years?
Leadership. Stellenbosch really focuses on leadership. It's a core module. So I think I undermined what they meant when they said leadership development. I was like, "Ugh, as a leader, don't as a manager, don't you just check who came into work that day, who didn't? It's just what's leadership anyway." But going through it, I learned a lot about myself, and I was able to see that leadership, or I redefined leadership for myself as being able to lead myself first before saying I can lead other people. Because if we can't overcome ourselves, how can we choose or say that we can overcome other situations? And as a leader, we need to lead by example. And if we lead in by example, how am I going to direct you somewhere if I cannot even direct myself? And if I can't achieve my own goals and be aware of things in myself that need change, how can I then come and say, you need to work on your performance as an employee, because we need to, meet the bottom line. There's that. And I think that's something we lack in our society today. Our leaders are not self aware. And I think for me, over the past 2 years, I've noticed that leadership starts with being self aware and being able to self critique yourself, and then develop yourself from there and have personal goals, and actually recognize and see the change that you've made, and see how much you've grown, and congratulate yourself and say, you know what, well done, girl, you did all of that, and you're getting somewhere. And that's what
Mm,
leadership is all about. So I feel like we have toxic leaders in society because they lack leadership. They just have a position, but they don't know how to lead themselves. And that's why they're so terrible at leading other people, because they haven't overcome themselves. They're not able to see what needs work in them. So the important thing that
mm.
I've learned over these past 2 years is that, and it stood out in each and every module that we did, that, leadership always stands out, always.
Preach. Wow.
Yeah, honey.
It is, yeah. No, it is really the truth that we have people with positions, but without the necessary leadership skills. So yeah, that's really cool that's what you took away from that. Um, would you say that a small business owner needs to have an MBA to be successful?
No, I don't think successful business owners need MBAs. Look at, there's so many rich people, innovators, business owners that started small and now they've become multi-million. They just, it's amazing what people can do when they put their minds to it. I don't think you need an MBA. I think it's beneficial, but I don't think it's a necessity. I think it can actually look, when I stepped into the MBA, I kept thinking about my small business in a lot of instances, and I found that each module has something to teach me about what I was doing behind the scenes that no one knew about, my little side hustle. But what is also cool is the people in my class, um, they work in industry, so they work for company, and where they are hired, they hired for a specific core, division or department or specific thing that they're there to do. Like, say for example, they're there to work as an operations manager. I don't know much about operations. And as a small business owner, you do everything in your business. So you are the operations manager, you are the strategist, you are the marketing manager, you are everything. And you're sitting in class with people who fulfill those roles in their companies every single day. So you have the opportunity to pick their brains, and they are able to filter, some of their knowledge into you, and you walk away with a lot more than just the paper. So it's beneficial to have an MBA, to be at business school as a small business owner, but I don't think it's necessary. And there's so many other options. There's the postgrad diploma. Stellenbosch has a small business academy. So there are all these different things that you can do, or programs you can enroll in business school. It doesn't have to be an MBA.
Mm. No, I think that's fair. I really think
Yes.
what you're saying is fair. I think what will end up happening to a small business owner is that even if you don't want to do an MBA or any sort of business degree, you're gonna pay those school fees in some other way.
Mm.
Um, it's yeah, you're gonna learn the lessons, and it may be quite a big knock or a small knock, but you're gonna learn those lessons in some other way, unfortunately or fortunately for your business.
I think you always gonna learn a lesson in a small business. We had a lecturer. He failed so many times in business, and he had an MBA. But I think that's what made him successful as well, because he told us about all his failures, and it was so amazing that. And he told us that he thinks that's why they asked him to come and lecture, because he'd failed so many times. He knows what not to do, and I thought that was just so powerful, because you're gonna learn your lesson anyway.
Mm,
Practice is a better teacher than the theory in class anyway. But at least having an MBA, you maybe have that sort of background knowledge to say, oh, maybe let me avoid this, let me stay away from
Yeah.
this, and it will help you. But I don't think you can be a successful business owner without failing. I think it's a necessity. I think everyone who's spoken to us who started a business had failed, and they all spoke about their failures. I think it's, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to fail. So it's gonna
Uh-uh.
happen. It's gonna
Oh
happen.
gosh.
It's just maybe you can make the fall less painful. I don't know
Mm,
how, but it takes strategy, obviously, and you need to think ahead.
mm, mm. I think my biggest objection to an MBA is that price tag. Like, I didn't know, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I spoke to someone who was interested in doing one, and he was like, "It's 100K a year." I don't know where he was looking. So for me, the price tag is a bit much. Do you know the people in your class? Maybe did they have other forms of funding, or were most people self-funded?
It's it's more than, I think the average price is 100K a year, but I think it might be slightly more than that. Um, girl, we'll talk
I
about
mean,
that.
university was 40K, and that was
Yes,
still like too much.
yeah, it was.
Okay.
It is quite pricey. I won't lie. Like, I was also wondering, yo, marriage helping at the so where am I gonna get all this
Mm.
cash? But and then before I enrolled, I was on Google and I was looking at how to do an MBA without actually doing an MBA. And I saw some article about hey girl, this thing has
Things
been a
were rough.
dream for a
Things were
while.
rough.
I needed this MBA. I
Mm.
needed to do it other ways if I couldn't afford it. But then I decided that you know what, I'm gonna do it. But anyway, before I applied, I was on Google and I was searching for ways to do an MBA without doing the actual MBA. And I found a list of books. I think there was like 12 to 14 books that they suggest you read. I think it was on Forbes.com. And they were suggesting all these books you should read. And that's basically doing an MBA without doing an MBA, without going to school for an MBA. I think I bought four of those books. I read two, but I was still like, no, I don't know. I feel like I need to be there in class, and it
Mm.
cost a chunk of money. But a lot of my classmates were funded by the companies because a lot of them, it's a requirement for them to do an MBA. So they pay for them to go do the MBA. Some people apply at work and the company is like, yeah, sure, we'll pay for your MBA. And they go and they do the MBA.
Phew.
There were a few of us who were self funded, and that was really tough. And out of a lot of us who are self funded, I'm the one with like the lowest paycheck. And I'm walking in there like, I am doing this thing. I promise you, like
No,
the year before.
You were on Jesus's salary there. Like, he
Guys,
was the
I
one.
promise
Yeah, he
you.
was the one making sure.
He paid. I was like, I was
Yeah.
stressing at some point. I'm like, God, I can't afford this, but I'm doing it. And I jumped in and I
Mm.
did it. And I was like, God, I can't pay for this thing. So you're going to have to come through somehow. And God has been so good. Like, people would be like, hey, my company wants to fund someone. You still doing your MBA? I'm like, yes. You still need money? I'm like, yes. And I would
Oh,
just send proof
yay.
of registration. Yo, level, God came through in so many ways. Like, it's a testimony like on its own. But yeah, that's how people got
Hmm.
funding from their companies, because I was also googling bursaries for MBAs. There aren't any. You can't just find a bursary online where you're doing for an MBA. I think it's one of those degrees that are highly sought after, so companies will only pay for their people to go and do it because they know they're going to get, they're going to reap the benefits afterwards. So
Yeah.
it's not like where someone's like, oh, we'll pay for you to go work for someone else and we'll just give you
Mm.
money. So
Yeah.
you either self fund or you funded by your company, or you like me and you tell God, hey, God, you got to pay. I can't
Mm.
afford this.
But I
Yeah.
honestly think these are the testimonies that you must be sharing. It's really encouraging because I know a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
who have studied their first degrees, maybe on and what's this NSFAS and things like that. Like when you think
Mm,
of the study debt that you already have, and thinking about, is this something that I also want to pay for myself again? It's just, yeah,
mm,
it just feels like a lot. So it's really encouraging to know that firstly you were earning the least, but you still managed to, rub shoulders with the big boys. And
The big boys, you know, sorry to jump in. You know, the big boys, some of them told me like recently that they're still not done paying.
huh?
But here I am, the small boy, and God came through like that.
No, big boys have priorities that are not in the right place. I'm telling you now. But
Yeah.
really, and also we really, like, all glory be to God. We're really grateful for the people that came through for you. That's amazing, and for the ways in which you were able to pay for that. Um, what do you
Yeah.
think is next for your business, like for your baking business, with all the knowledge
Yeah.
that you've acquired?
Actually, it's the knowledge I've acquired has forced me to step back from my business a bit and rethink what my value proposition is. So
Huh?
that's where I am. I am, yeah. I'm questioning if I'm taking the right, if I'm on the right course. I still love, I'm not changing. I love the food industry. I'm
Mm,
still excited about it. I'm just questioning myself about how do I go about it? Is this the right way to do it? Um, and right now, I don't feel like I will be baking cakes for clients much longer. I'm redirecting my focus a bit. So when the thing pops and it happens, invite me back to talk about it.
yeah. Wow. This is
Because I
scary. How
am
do you feel? This is freaking
I'm
scary.
excited I'm excited and scared, and
Mm,
I'm motivated to procrastinate because I'm just like, it's gotta be perfect, but how do I start? Let me take a nap. So it's like you want to run from it because it's like, are you ready? But you know that you're ready because you did the MBA, you prayed, you asked God, this is it, the time has arrived. What
yeah.
do you do? So, but yeah, I found a mentor. I have a mentor. She's amazing,
Oh
and
my word.
so I
No, but
am.
no, because the thing is, the thing that I've been thinking about is women don't get female mentors. Like, we don't get mentors in general, besides like female or non or like male. We
Yeah.
don't look for mentors. Why? Why is that?
I really don't know. I have an amazing
How
mentor,
did you
and
find your
like
mentor?
I've known her. I we served together in kids' church in when I was in Stellenbosch, and I met her there, and she's so amazing. And she moved a couple of years later, and we've still kept in contact. And so when I started doing my MBA, I in one of my modules was entrepreneurship, and I was running through this whole my business, and I was asking myself, is this really what I need to continue with? But I decided, let me continue baking cakes for clients for now. I don't have time to change everything
Mm,
because I'm still a student. I need that extra cash for petrol, for
yeah.
things like that. And we spoke about it, and she was really motivating me, really encouraging me. And I was like, you know what? When I start, I'm gonna call her. So yeah, her and I we be in contact weekly, so
Mm.
that's what we're doing.
I'm just thinking, because how would you s- advise anyone to approach a mentor? Because I mean, yours was pretty organic. Um,
Hmm.
but how would you advise someone to approach a mentor that they would like to mentor them?
I wouldn't say, I would suggest not just finding someone you think is amazing and cool and is doing the most and just go rock up to them and like, hey, can you be my mentor? Because what happens when you realize that relationship isn't what it's cut out to be? Now you got to break up with a mentor. How do you do that? So I think it's weird, it's awkward because it's like a professional relationship, but it can't just be professional because this person literally speaks into your life. So it needs to be someone, you need to find someone, yes, someone you look up to. Maybe not someone who's completely arrived to where you want to be because that person's probably super busy and won't make time for you.
Mm,
But ask yourself, can this person really speak into my life? And what are your beliefs? You need to know what your values are and do they align with this person's values? And you need to, I believe in starting it out with a friendship first, because once you realize you kind of have something in common with this person, it's easy then to go to them and be like, hey, can you be my mentor? This is
mm,
where I want to go with my life. This is what I want to do. and you're kind of doing something that I really want to do. So how do we link up? Can you help me? You know, and not I didn't put the pressure on her and be like, hey, can you be my mentor? I was just like, look, here's this thing I really want to do, and because you're doing it, can you help me? And she stepped in and said, yes, whatever you need, I'm here for you. And
Mm,
I'll send her voice notes, like 5 minute, 10-minute voice notes, telling her my ideas. I want to do this. I don't know where to start. And she will just talk me through it, and she'll calm me down, and she will tell me how she did it, and she's not afraid. It's good to find a mentor that won't hide things from you and
mm,
won't see you as competition, someone who wants your business to do better than theirs anyway.
mm,
And I think that's what I love about her, because she's willing to fly all the way out here to help me put things together, direct me. And so I'm so grateful for that relationship, because it's been so amazing.
mm.
It really has.
Thank you. I am on the lookout for a mentor. I will.
Find yourself
Yeah, I'm
one.
like, you really encouraged me and made me think about it a little bit more because it was on my mind. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for
Yay, please,
inviting me.
yay, please pimp yourself out. Where can people find you? Now that you are not doing the business anymore, I don't know.
People can find me. I'm not active on I don't have Twitter, and I'm not really active on Facebook or Instagram, but people can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, so connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Maletsatsi Ntshiea. The surname is Ntshiea, Ntshiea. Cool.
Yeah, are you one of those in LinkedIn celebrities? Here we think you're a normal
Not
person, then
yet.
there you're like hashtag, hashtag, hashtag on LinkedIn.
I wanna be a LinkedIn influencer.
Oh gosh.
But I'm not there yet. I'm still like I'm testing the waters. I dip my toe in every now and then. But
Mm.
keep your way, watch the space. I might just be one of those LinkedIn influencers.
Oh gosh. Do you have any podcast recommendations for our listeners?
Yes, I like the Darius Daniels podcast. I don't know if you know him.
I
He's a
don't.
pastor, but he used to be a professor. He's a pastor. But what I like about it, it's not like he's not preaching on a podcast. He's really insightful. He's very, very intelligent. And I love how he speaks about um having relational intelligence, knowing how to make good friendships, knowing how to differentiate them, and boundaries. And he gives good talks on leadership, and so it's things that really are really helpful in business. Like,
Mm.
he's a really insightful man. So that's what I listen to, the Darius Daniel project.
Okay, I will
Podcast.
definitely
Sorry,
share
not
that.
projects, podcast.
Yeah, the Daniel Darius podcast. I will definitely share.
Daniel Darius podcast.
Mm,
Yeah,
sounds really good. Thank you so much, Melissa.
it
It was
is.
great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Level. It
Yay.
was great to be here. I'd love to be invited back soon.
Definitely.
Thank you for listening. If you found this podcast helpful, please remember to like and share it. See you in the next one.